This is going to be an interesting one. The NES release of Shadowgate got a lot of attention, and I think it was the first introduction to adventure games for quite a few people. I also think it was a pretty bad adventure game, but we'll get to that. The Famicom port is also well known, and that's because the game basically became a meme for its terrible, terrible Japanese translation. Shadowgate is the "all your base are belongs to us" of the Famicom. The bizarre phrasing, particularly in the death scenes, led people to call them poetry. Now my Japanese isn't that great, but even I can spot some of the problems. Like how the sling is translated as pachinko. There's definitely an implication that the translation was done by someone who wasn't fluent in Japanese, and was translating key words straight from a dictionary. What I'm saying is, maybe don't play this one if you're learning Japanese and want to use it for practice. Your goal in Shadowgate is to make your way through a warlock's castle and defeat them. It really is as simple as that. Shadowgate started out as part of the Macventure line, a series of adventure games for Macintosh computers that took advantage of the system's built-in interface structures. The Famicom port doesn't have any dragging and dropping, but it does divide the interface up into several smaller blocks. While you can point and click at things in the main graphics window, you can also interact with exits on the room map, and shuffle through a list of your inventory. There's 9 command verbs: go, search, take, open, close, use, hit, drop, and talk. You can also apply any action to yourself, or choose to save the game to a battery backup. And you will need to save often. Shadowgate has a lot of rapid, arbitrary player deaths. The wrong action is likely to be instantly fatal. You can choose to continue, and that will return you to the previous room before you died. The way you progress through Shadowgate's adventure is pretty arbitrary. Actions that make logical sense will fail for no reason, but if you do something that's effectively identical to it, that will work. This is especially bad when it comes to using weapons on the monsters. Why does the spear work on the troll but not the sword? Who knows? Perhaps the most annoying feature of Shadowgate is the torches. There's a finite number of torches throughout the castle, and you have to have a lit torch on you at all times. They last about 10 minutes of playtime roughly, and if they go out, then you die immediately. So it's not even like you can get the full lifespan of the torch out of it. And since there's a finite number of torches that you have to explore and pick up, it means that thinking things through and trying to figure out puzzles works against you. You could easily wind up in a dead man walking situation where you just don't have enough torches to complete the game. It means that what you really have to do is figure out a puzzle, reset, go solve that puzzle, save your game, and then go figure out what the next step you need to do is. Shadowgate, and in particular the 8-bit console versions of Shadowgate, have a long legacy. This version would get a port to the Game Boy Color. That version had the text edited to be much more readable. There were also sequels on the TurboGrafx-16 and on the Nintendo 64. There's also a remake, though that one I feel is more descended from the Mac version. So, I really don't like Shadowgate. To me, it's a perfect example of the things that drove people away from the adventure game genre. The arbitrary deaths, a lack of consideration for any kind of alternate thinking on the part of the player, puzzles that come down to use this arbitrary object on this arbitrary point, with no logical linking between those two. It's all the worst habits of bad early 80s text adventures, only now they have pictures attached to them. I know that for a lot of players it's the first time that they encountered anything like this, and so there's a lot of fondness attached to Shadowgate. But it really is a bad adventure game.